is beptalks. Oh, hello, and welcome to this edition of beptalks, where it is our absolute delight to bring you the most fascinating and wonderful guests who come from all different genres, different areas of expertise, but all come with such an open and willing heart to inspire, to motivate, to educate, and sometimes even to entertain. Today is certainly no exception. Our very special guest today is Olivia Cream. Olivia, welcome.
Hi, Beth. It's a pleasure to
Here
join
you
you.
are. Thank you so much for joining us today on beptalks.
Of course, it's my pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, have been very much looking forward to this conversation. You know, there are so many dimensions to you. So many dimensions to you. And we're going to kind of mention all of them. You are what we refer to as a career strategist with 8 years of military service in the U.S. Coast Guard.
Yes.
Let me first of all say, you go, girl, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
We all appreciate it. You came out of the military, you had some shifts in your career, and you really are focused now. And I'm going to leave this up to you to tell our listeners and our viewers what your story is. But you come to us with a perspective as the only.
Yes.
A minute. What does that mean?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that. So the term only was coined by McKinsey. So the company that does like the Gallup polls and things like that. They coined the term only. And what it describes, I mean, anyone can be an only. It could be a female in a male dominated space, a male in a female dominated space, someone disabled in a predominantly able space. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Sure.
So anytime you find yourself in a space where you're the only person of your kind, then you could call yourself an only.
And you've dealt with that more than once in your life, is what I understand.
Every chapter of my life, for the most part.
So, you know, when you think of that, there were reasons that someone would want to stand out as the only, like kind of a very positive connotation to that. Being special, the best, the top. I like to look at things from a positive tilt of the head, if you will. But is it always that perspective?
You know, I love that you have a positive spin on that, Beth, because I think most of us, not myself now, but most of us would see it as kind of a negative, right? Because what happens when you're an only is the spotlight is immediately on you, right? It's like one of these things is not like the others. And it can definitely have psychological effects like, oh my God, do I belong here? You know, am I competent enough to be here? Do I belong at this table? You know, should I speak up? I don't want to draw too much attention to myself. So, you know, there's a lot of challenges that come along with it. But I think if you're aware, right, if you're hyper aware of the fact that you are an only, you can create strategies to mitigate some of that anxiety that comes up and turn it into a very positive thing.
Spin it around. I'm the only one. But so, yes, I do tend to err on the side of positivity always. I'm imagining, however, that in the real world, in today's world, I'm going to even guess, especially for young females, the goal is really to fit in.
Yes.
And not stand out. It's to, I just want to blend. I just want to blend. I don't want to stand out. That's kind of sad in a way, I'm thinking.
Oh, it's so sad. I mean, Beth, I coach thousands of women between my day job and then external to my day job and my coaching practice, thousands of women. And you would be so surprised how many women want to be liked, right?
Yeah.
Want to belong, want to fit in. And I get this question all the time. Well, how do you get yourself motivated and how do you deal with your anxiety when you don't see anyone doing the thing that you want to do? And here's what I would tell people. We are all on this earth for a reason, right? We all got put here with a special purpose and with talents uniquely suited to us to accomplish whatever mission, whatever purpose it is that we have on this earth. And those gifts weren't sent out via conference call. It wasn't sent out via email, right? So sometimes you are going to find yourself in this space doing this unique thing that's unique to you. You don't need to see anyone else doing it. You go do it and perhaps be an example for other women coming up behind you.
Own it, own it, own it. So
Absolutely.
I know that you do, with your podcast and your public speaking, that you deliver a very special message. And I would love for you to share that right now for you as you wish for our viewers and our listeners. Is that good? Can you do that for us?
Absolutely.
So right now, here is the one and only Olivia Cream.
Thanks so much, Beth. So as we get started here, and I'm talking to our ladies right now, but gents, if you're listening, this message may resonate with you as well. Have you ever found yourself, for the ladies, have you ever found yourself thinking about all the challenges that women face in the world? If you turn on your TV or if you get on social media on any of the channels, we are riddled with information saying there's imposter syndrome, there's a gender pay gap, there's this broken rung syndrome, there's a tall poppy syndrome. I just learned that one, which is basically us fighting against each other. Or there are reports of awful things happening in the workplace, like gender discrimination or sexual harassment. And I don't know about you, but I got so tired about hearing why, as a woman, I could not be successful with no balance in information on how we can overcome these challenges. So embracing only in our coaching practice was born from this idea, the idea that women very well may be underrepresented in the spaces that we occupy, i.e. and only, but we can still be successful. So we already kind of talked about what an only is. And again, anyone can be an only. But the point here is that when you are an only, there are these challenges that we just talked about that have a direct impact on your performance. And the impact can be so strong that it causes you to shrink in spaces where you should be on fire and thriving, right? Now, if you are aware of this phenomenon, the first things first, you have to be aware of the problem. Once you know what the problem is, we can create strategies to not only survive, but to thrive. So like I mentioned, the term only was coined by McKinsey. McKinsey did a Women in the Workplace study. Ladies, if you have not checked that out, please go check it out, because what it does is it really quantifies for us how relevant this only syndrome is, so that we can start thinking about, okay, how do we overcome it? Now I understand why I'm having these feelings of not belonging, of shrinking, of, we're not crazy. It's documented that these things have an effect on our psyche. So this study gave us a stat that 20% of women in the workplace have reported that they are onlys. 20%, that's a lot of women. And the stat only gets worse in some areas like STEM. As a former engineer, I am all too familiar with these numbers. And when you pare that down and you look specifically at women of color, that number rose to 45%. Now, for our male counterparts, they're only experiencing this only phenomenon 7% of the time. So you can see how this really becomes a pretty relevant problem for us women. Okay. Now, the study also documented how frustratingly slow the progress is towards gender equality. And when you look at the C-suite, ladies, because we want you all to be super ambitious, right? So if you're looking at the C-suite, 1 in 5, only 1 in 5, that's where we're stuck. And unfortunately, that trend, it's getting worse. So what happens when you're an only? McKinsey tells us that we are more likely to face what they dubbed microaggressions, almost twice as much as our counterparts that aren't onlys, male or female, right? And if you ask, well, what are microaggressions? Here are some examples for you, right? It's in a space you're having your judgment questioned, or you're being mistaken for someone of a lower position or rank, or you're being subjected to unprofessional and demeaning remarks, or you're being talked over in meetings. Does that kind of sound familiar? All the women in my network have experienced one or many of those things. So, for a little bit of context on my own journey, as Beth previously mentioned, I started my career as a naval engineer in the United States Coast Guard. And back as a back as a naval engineer in 2009, I became one of two first Black female engineers to command engineer officers of a major cutter. I actually made it into the Coast Guard history books. It was so rare to see other Black women doing the job that I wanted to do, but that did not deter me. Now, after I left the military, I transitioned into the civilian space, right? I transitioned into the medical device space. And when I transitioned there, I started off in a very entry level role. We'll talk about that a little bit more. I took a massive pay cut because I did not know what I was doing. But from there, I went from entry level to senior vice president in 11 years. Now, you may say to yourself, oh my gosh, that sounds super quick. It is, it's super quick, but I am not special, ladies. If I can do this, you can do this too. And my 10-ish years in HR really helped me understand that there are strategies to help us get to where we want to be, but sometimes we need a little help on our journey. And that's what me and my co-host, Archita Fritz, seek to do. We want to be the voices at your kitchen table that help you navigate some of these unspoken rules in the corporate landscape, that help you understand what's happening with our mindset and with our own emotions that could potentially be barriers to our success. So the message here, ladies, you can have anything that you want. You can accomplish anything that you want. In spite of all of this data that's telling us how hard it is, the data does not have to apply to you. Now, in my coaching practice, and as I mentioned, I have coached so many women. The single most debilitating issue for us is we have a hard time clearly articulating what it is that we want. First things first, in order for you to get anywhere, you need to be hyper clear on what it is that you want. Now, I talk to women, and when I ask them after listening to what's going on and what they need help with, I ask them, what is it that you want? And I get the space. And they have a hard time articulating it. Or sometimes I hear things like, I just want to be a boss, or I just want to help people, or I just want to have an impact. Ladies, what on earth does that mean? When I say you need to be hyper clear as to what it is you want, I need to hear things like, I want to make X amount of money. I want to be able to work from anywhere. I need a flexible schedule so I can support my family or support whoever, or maybe I just need a flexible schedule because I want to travel. Here's where I want to live. Here is how I want to work. Those are the things that you need to define for yourself so we can back into a plan to help get you where you need to be. Okay. Now, secondly, I also want you to know that once you are clear exactly on what it is that you want and you craft that plan to get there, now you can measure every opportunity that comes your way on that baseline, right? Something that women are plagued with. We get so flattered by someone tapping us on the shoulder and saying, hey, I really think that you would be great over here. Can you come do this thing? Ladies, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it, right? We are capable of so much, but it doesn't mean that you should do all of those things. That is what is plaguing us with burnout and anxiety and all these things, because we're like, put me in, coach. I'll do anything. I'm so flattered. I want to feel welcomed. I want to feel a part of this. But the truth of the matter is, when you take on all of those things, what happens is you get distracted from your end goal. Okay, if you want to move quickly to your end goal, you have to embrace your no's so that you can honor your yeses, and your yeses must align to what it is, your end goal, not the immediate goal. Your yeses have to align to that end goal. Now, thirdly, I want to say this. If you are in an environment where you feel like you are not valued, and I'm not talking about sometimes the stories that we tell ourselves, but you have tangible proof of how you are not being valued, how you're not getting stretch opportunities, how you're not being listened to, you need to remove yourself from that environment immediately. So the third part of our process is really evaluating whether you can be successful where you are, or if we need to make a change, and we help you along the process of making that change. Now, lastly, I want everyone to understand this. You have to find your village. None of us attain success alone. So if you're like me and you're an introvert, and yes, I know everybody's always surprised when I say that, I'm totally an introvert. You have to find what I call your tribe. Those are mentors, those are sponsors, those are coaches that are going to help you along the way. So don't skip that meeting at the water cooler. Don't skip the happy hour. You have to get involved and have to build the relationships strategically with folks that are going to help you on your journey. So to wrap this up here, I want to leave you all with this again. You can have whatever you want, ladies. You don't have to listen to the noise, and that is exactly what I call it, the noise around you that's telling you it's hard out in these streets. It is difficult. But with a plan, you can have anything that you want, and you can go forth and you can thrive.
Yes, yes, and more yes. Um, Olivia, your perspectives are, to coin your own phrase, are so hyper clear. And I've been in those conversations, and I dare say I've probably been on both sides of that conversation. What do you want? And do women have a reluctance, maybe even a fear of admitting what they want? Do we just not know it, or do we have this fear of hearing us say it out loud?
It's both. It's both, Beth. You have to think about how we've been raised. Think about society as a whole, right? We are always taught to take care of everyone else before ourselves. And when we take care of ourselves, we're dubbed as selfish or too ambitious or aggressive. I hear that all the time. You're aggressive, right?
Mm.
Society as a whole, unfortunately, trains us to not put ourselves first. But I got to tell you, Beth, every woman that reaches any height of success, it's because we're super clear on what it is that we want. And let's not make any mistakes here. You can be humble and still want more, right? You can be grateful and still want more. So just because you want more does not make you not nice, right? That's a whole nother topic. Niceness is killing us as women. Whole nother topic. But you can still define what you want and still be all of those great things that we all seek to be.
And one doesn't have really almost necessarily anything connected to the other. It's just, I grew up in an era where we were told women should want to have it all. And I know women who struggled with that because, in fact, they didn't want it all. They were very clear on what they did not want. And I think that's just as important. Start crossing the things off that you don't want. And you'll find then that your list of possibilities is shorter. And you made that point. I have coached so many women who thought, if I put myself first, I will be thought of as a bad mom, not a good friend. And I would say to people, if you can't give that which you do not have, If you're
Yes.
not fortified and if you're not giving it for the right reason, the beauty of that gift is negated. And why
Yes.
would you want to do that? You're giving for the wrong reasons. You should give for the joy of it, the fulfillment of it, knowing that you helped somebody. And maybe even till sometimes that it hurts, meaning that you've made a sacrifice in order to give it. But you shouldn't walk away feeling bad that you gave.
Beth, I couldn't agree with you more. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't do it, right? And there's so many of us walking around and we are mad or we are crazier than two left shoes. And we're wondering why our husbands are mad, our bosses hate us, our friends are disappearing because we're stressed out because we are operating from a depleted state. If you don't take care of your self-worth, if you are sacrificing everything that you want for everyone else, you are walking in a space and people feel it, the energy that we put off. People feel it that you are not happy. And guess what? That energy that you're putting off is blocking your blessings. Right? So we think we're doing a good thing by putting other people first and neglecting ourselves. Ladies, it's quite the opposite, right? When we are unhappy, we make everybody around us unhappy. So stop doing it. Stop it.
Doing, yeah. And you know that half full, half empty metaphorical talk that we have, it's exactly the same. It's just how you see it. So perspective, mindset, what you want out of it, what you want for yourself, and what you're hoping others get because of the fact that you gave. So when you were in service in the military, I mean, your whys had to be so outstanding. And to take that path, you had to clearly know that you wanted it. Did you know going in that it wasn't going to be a career for yourself?
No. Brings me to my second point. It's okay to pivot, right? It's okay. It's okay to change your mind and say, well, I thought I wanted this, but now that I'm in it, I don't want this. I want something else. And for me, when I went into the military, I'm going to be an admiral. I'm going to be the first Black female admiral. Like I had these big aspirations, right? And then life happens and I met my husband. And then he became more important than the service to me, right? It was important to me to have a good family life and to be able to build a little family with this man that I met that now became the center of my universe. So my needs, my wants changed. And so I left, right? So the mission gets redefined over time, but there has to be a mission. Pivoting, there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere, and it is okay to pivot. And pivot doesn't mean change everything about yourself. It means, you know, if you understand it from the basketball perspective, one foot stays planted, and you can take the other foot, and you can go around those 360 degrees, but you still stay planted. You're just seeing it. You're seeing your own life, if you will, from a different angle. We are allowed to do that. We are allowed to change our minds. It doesn't mean we failed in any way. And certainly looking at a woman like yourself, I mean, I wouldn't even say that word again in a conversation with you. I love when you said you have to find your village. That doesn't mean find the group that's going to, that you need to get permission from.
Oh gosh,
Find the group. No, not at all. No permission. No permission. I used to say to people, stop asking for permission to be successful and then stop apologizing when you are.
Oh gosh,
no
yes.
need. You don't need apologies. You don't need permission. But it means find the support. Now, that's not unique to men, to women. Men do the same thing.
Yes, and they do it way more effectively than we do.
Why?
Do. Because they are not concerned about not being liked.
Ah.
They're not concerned, right?
Well, you said something that I had never heard of. You called it the tall poppy syndrome. It sounds like it kind of goes back to that. Do women take it as weakness when they ask for help?
Oh my gosh, yes. So we as a population, and this is broad strokes, so if this does not apply to you ladies, please ignore, but based on some stats that are out there, if you Google tall poppy syndrome, essentially what it's saying is we believe that there is a limited amount of space for excellence. And in order for me, Olivia, to be successful, Beth, you can't be successful. There's not room for both of us, right? And so we fight each other for this limited slice of the pie because we think it's limited, right? It is not limited. It is unlimited, right? You can have anything that you want. But back to your point about finding your village, women take everybody's inputs and we let it weigh in our brains, right? You lay awake at night and you're replaying the cringy moment that you had in the meeting 6 years ago that you said something that you're like, oh my God, that was so dumb, right? We all do it. It makes us insane. What I am saying is that two things. One, you shouldn't be afraid of failure, right? Failure, we need to embrace failure because that's how we learn, right? It's not a bad thing. Two, we cannot let everyone into our brain space. You can't. So your village are people that want to see you succeed. Your village are people that are aligned with you on your journey, right? And they're helping you get there by any means. And people fill different roles. So it's not like one person that's all encompassing. It's different people playing different parts. But this village of yours should challenge you. They should stretch you. They should question you. They should make you reach for things that you thought were not in your reach. That is uncomfortable. And we have to get comfortable in that uncomfortableness with our village because our village is there to help us grow. And everybody else that is not in our village, everybody else that might be fighting us for shine or might be labeling us aggressive or too ambitious, those people, no matter what they say, you should not care. I tell people, what other people think of you is none of your business.
I love that. I love that saying. I love that saying. And you know what? I think the natural thing for women is to go to your best friend, to go to your sisters, to go to the people who love you the most and are going to give you the best advice. I have found that not the best people to invite into the village. You love them for different reasons. They serve a very different purpose in your life. You could not get along without them. Best friends and sisters. They're people, I think, am I getting this correct, who have to be very objective about you. It's almost like they have a dog in the fight, but they don't have a dog in the fight. You're not going to cross them. You're not going to not invite them to Thanksgiving dinner because they gave you wrong advice.
Right.
They don't view it like that at all. And people who do the proper coaching and mentoring, and I know you know this, and we don't give our personal opinions like a best friend or a sister would very much feel free to do because they think that's what we might be inviting them to do or that we need them to do. We just know how to communicate because it's in each one of us already. The answers are there, the paths are there. And when someone can listen, I think very, very objectively, but someone who has good heads on their shoulders and who has good experience behind them, you just kind of pull it out of that person, right? It's already in there.
100%, Beth, you're so right. I think that objective, to repeat it, what you said about the objective opinion, those are the opinions that accelerate us, right? Those are the opinions, because if you come to me and you're like, hey, here, this is what I want to do, here's what's going on, I'm going to be like, is this you? Are you telling yourself a story or did this actually happen? Is this your boss or is this you? Did you decline opportunities that came your way? Or why did you give your boss so much power over you? Your boss does not control, right? I'm pressing you to think differently. When you think you're weak, I'm telling you, no, you're not weak. You're just making bad choices. You are making bad choices, right? And so sometimes I think the best people in your village are not the ones that are going to give you a hug and make you feel good about yourself.
No.
We're giving you clarity so that you can grow. My mission, if I'm in your village, is so that you grow and you get to whatever it is that you want to get to as fast as possible. I'm going to do that as kindly as I can. I'm not in it to hurt feelings, but
No,
sometimes
no.
feelings might get hurt because you need to hear the information because I care about you. I'm not going to shield you from the stuff that might hit you in the forehead. I'm not going to shield you from that because someone needs to tell you so you can grow. It's a gift, even though it feels painful in the moment. Good objective feedback is a gift, and we have to start looking at it that way.
And you know what happens sometimes, we know this happens, is that be it a minute, a month, years down the road, that feedback that we may have taken out of context or took in a negative way, you can still have that aha moment down the road. And my mom used to always say, the rear view mirror will always give you the best view. When the dust settles and you kind of see, now it makes sense. Now I can appreciate, because not that we failed. I hate, we just don't like that word, but that I tried and I tried again and I tried again and it didn't work, but I got a little bit closer. And guess what? At least I was able to cross those things off the list. I think we should all leave this world with nothing on our bucket list. It should be gone. We should be living our bucket list in life, not just as we think we're facing death. And you can always keep adding things, of course, but you don't want to have a long list of things that, gee, I didn't try it because my best friend, my sister, because they want to protect us. Yes. And if we don't succeed, they really don't want the responsibility of saying, oh my gosh, I encouraged her and look what I told her to do. And now look where she is. That objective perspective is key. It is so key. You agree, I think that
100%, I agree. And I think to the point of failure, we never really lose because you learned something, right? Now you're not starting from scratch. You have learned something. And so even if it takes you, I use the word relentless. One of the things that have served me so well is that I am relentless in the pursuit of my goals, Beth. Like, I don't care if I get a million no's, I only need one yes. I only need the one yes to get to where I need to be. So you have to be relentless. And that failure, it's such a dirty word to us. Yeah. Failure is part of the human experience. Like, yes. Think about when we were kids. We failed all the time. And it wasn't a big deal. And at some point in time, we became adults. And now it's like, oh God, I have to know everything. I can't fail at anything. I have to be perfect. When did that happen to us?
And whoever told us, when you said that, I'm thinking, picture a child standing up for the first time and trying to walk, and they take a step and fall down. Could you imagine just never getting up again?
Exactly.
We'd all be so many
of us do that. We just never get up again.
We just never get up again. I love everything that you say. I love the logic behind it, because I live in a world of practicality. I live in logic. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. You can try to change it and make sense out of it and get closer to it. That's okay. That's part of what we're talking about. But for viewers, for listeners who need to speak with someone like you, how do they get to work with you?
Well, I have exciting news. So because of the demand here, there's actually a website now. It's oliviacream.com. And there are all sorts of modules, whether you need help just getting started or you need something deeper, like a one-on-one coaching session for us to talk through those things. Please come visit me at oliviacream.com. Now, if you want to be part of the village, I encourage you to join us. And I say us because I do have a co-host. Her name is Archita Fritz. She lives in Dusseldorf, Germany. So we have kind of a global collaboration going on here. Please join us on social media at either embracingonly.com on LinkedIn or embracingonly Instagram handle. We don't really dabble in Facebook that much, but you can find us there. And our podcast is available on all major platforms, or you can go right to embracingonly.com and listen to the podcast there. A lot of the things that we talked about here today, Beth, we have many, many stories of many, many women who identify as onlys, who are out here just killing the game. They are thriving. And so you get to really hear how some of these concepts that we're talking about play out in real human lives. We give you those examples. So hopefully you can hear a story that inspires you to get over whatever hurdle you're in, or maybe you have something on your heart that you need to take a leap of faith. We encourage you to listen to those stories and engage with us on any platform and social media. We'd love to hear from you.
And we put up a link here where people can connect to you. Clearly, you can see the reasons why Olivia is maybe the mayor of that village that you need to start building around you. And I'm sure that Olivia can connect you to others who she knows are very reliable resources. And I guess I would think that my takeaway from here is that be the only for all the right reasons. Be the only for the wonderfully unique spirit and being that you are. Not to feel that you're the only because you're not like everybody else. You weren't meant to be like everybody else. Celebrate the uniqueness. And you know, I always say that, you know, we talk to women in 84 countries, Olivia, and what I have discovered is that what we really wish to do through the GSEW and now through beptalks is to celebrate all that we have in common, because we are all much more alike than we are different.
Yes.
And I know that to be true. I believe that to be true. And at the heart of any woman is the heart of every woman. And none of us should ever feel alone. We shouldn't use alone equal to only. There's no reason to be alone. We have wonderful people like Olivia, and we're giving you the connection right here. Take the time, reach out, give yourself the benefit, the opportunity to hear yourself say, perhaps for the very first time, this is what I want, because this is what I deserve. This is what I'm capable of. And this is what I am willing to work very hard to achieve, because all those things have to come into play.
Hear, hear.
Hear, 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 hear. There. Go right there to that link. Connect with the fabulous Olivia Cream. And I thank you again so much for joining us today on beptalks. And our joy in bringing resources like you to tens of thousands of women, just through our own connections, through the Global Society of Empowered Women, and now through beptalks, brings us so much joy, so much possibility for women everywhere. Change the life of one woman, you've changed the world. And let's also put all these perspectives into our younger, the next generations of mommies and world leaders, because there's so much negativity around them wanting to not celebrate their wonderful uniqueness. So let's all be there for the younger women in our lives. That's what we older girls are here to do.
Absolutely.
To be support, pay it back. Olivia, thank you so much for being here today and for all you do. And again, thank you for your service in the Coast Guard. You are the one and only. So I thank you. And to our viewers, our audience, I thank you for joining us again. We wish you all nothing but the best. And as we say here at beptalks, may the best always be yet to come. We certainly wish that for you. So until we talk again, bye for now.